3 behind Alabama and with Florida State, I believe. 855-242-7285. Let's talk to J.D., who is up next. Good afternoon, J.D. Thanks for the phone call.
Hey, good afternoon, Paul. You know, I love all your interviews, and I know it's tough to come up with questions. You know, I cover high school sports from Alabama for AL.com, and I have to talk to players and coaches. And I try to think of questions that are going to get some kind of answer that's just, you know, maybe a little different than what other guys might ask. I was curious about your interview with Hugh Freeze. You asked a question to him about the Pat 40 article.
Right. And
why he thought Pat 40 decided to write that. I think I might have asked him, I would just come out and ask him, you guys are good friends, and I would ask him about some of the, while not illegal recruiting practices, maybe some things that could be considered slightly unethical.
Well, let me jump in here, J.D. There's an obvious question to ask him, and the question is, and you know what it is, in relation to how you run your program. And I would have asked him that question if I didn't think I knew the answer. But for me to ask Hugh Freeze, are you running a clean program? Are you running an ethical program? Do you violate the rules? It was not going to happen because I've had this conversation with Hugh Freeze privately. And I know what his answer is, and I believe his answer. So, I mean, what you said is fair. I understand. If I didn't know him, the obvious question is, what kind of program are you running there? But I already know the answer to that in my mind. It's my mind versus someone else's mind.
Right. And Paul, those things are not illegal. If they're illegal, I believe Hugh Freeze wouldn't do those things. He wouldn't hire Shea Patterson's brother to be on his recruiting staff. He wouldn't give a scholarship to Laramie Tunsil's brother, who wasn't even a Division I player at all. Those things are not illegal. Maybe they're ingenious. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a question since you asked me a question. You cover recruiting for AL.com, right?
I cover high school sports.
Right. Well, you cover, well, okay, I'm glad you told me that because I was just trying to understand your interest in Ole Miss. And from what you know, and you work for a reputable news organization, what is your impression of Ole Miss recruiting?
I think that some could not. It doesn't matter to me. People do what they do. I think most everybody's cheating, Paul. I hate to say that. I have a good friend that works for a national recruiting site, and he tells me if I knew all the things he knew, especially with the 5-star players, it'd make all of our heads spin.
Well, you're around it all the time in relation to high school football. Do you think it's as bad as he says it is?
I haven't witnessed it myself, Paul, because I just see him after the game. I'm trying to, I've got a deadline,
Sure. No, listen, I understand. That's fair.
But I think Hugh Freeze is what he says. He's a good, honest man. I just think that.
Well, sometimes J.D. There's only so much you can control as the head coach. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. And there is a fine line. But I believe I've been criticized recently for saying I believe in Hugh Freeze. That's fine. I don't mind. I think it's humorous at times for me to when you know my career like I do. I'm actually being criticized for defending a coach in terms of his honor and integrity as opposed to the other way around, or the antithesis of that. But I do think it's a dirty business out there. But there's a big difference between doing things within the rules, even if you're pushing the envelope, so to speak, versus blatantly violating rules, which many people are accusing. I mean, thanks for the call, by the way. But I'll just say this, and I try not to use this forum to do anything other than take phone calls and interview guests. But I think there are a lot of bitter people out there who don't like when someone comes into the neighborhood, like Hugh Freeze. They don't like when someone starts getting top recruits. And what do? They accuse him of cheating. There was a head coach in the SEC within days of Nick Saban arriving at Alabama. This head coach called me and said, he is breaking rules left and right. He's cheating. He's doing this. And I said, can you give me some specifics? Obviously, I'm a reporter. And he couldn't answer the question. And he kept telling me that. and eventually he got fired, and he could never prove one thing, because it's easy to accuse someone else of cheating when you get beat. And I've heard it about Saban, I've heard it about a lot of coaches, but just because you know someone doesn't mean they're great people or they're honest. But in Hugh Freeze's case, I really believe it, and that's why I said what I did last Friday. We'll take a break. Much more to come. 855-242-7285.